All right, today we are diving into one of the most fascinating stories in tech right now. It's about a potential IPO for a company that has, kind of quietly, become this massive global force. And really, it all kicks off with one simple question.
So let me ask you something. Just think about the last week. The last presentation you had to whip up for work, maybe a social media graphic you posted, or even that resume you polished up. I'm willing to bet you used a company that's now valued at almost $38 billion. And the name might actually surprise you.
Yep, the answer is Canva. And this number, 220 million. That is how many people use Canva every single month. I mean, that's more than the entire population of Brazil. That mind-boggling scale is exactly why everyone from Wall Street to Silicon Valley is watching every single move they make.
So how on earth did Canva get this big? Well, it really all boils down to a super simple, but honestly revolutionary idea. Making design something that anyone can do.
You know, before Canva, if you wanted something to look professionally designed, you're pretty much stuck. You had to use these expensive, incredibly complex programs that were really only built for expert designers. Canva just blew all that up. Its super simple drag-and-drop interface and this huge library of templates, it basically democratized the whole field. It empowered millions of us who had great ideas but just didn't have the tech skills to bring them to life.
But here's the thing. This design juggernaut didn't start out with some grand plan for world domination. No, its beginnings were actually way more humble.
The whole journey kicks off way back in 2012 with a simple little platform for making school yearbooks. But then look at 2017. Canva hit profitability. Now, that is incredibly rare for a fast-growing tech unicorn. Most of those companies just burn through cash for years and years. And if you fast forward to today, they're making some seriously aggressive moves, buying up AI tools and even the professional design suite Affinity. This isn't just about adding new bells and whistles. It's a direct shot, a signal that they are coming for the pros.
Okay, so on the surface, this looks like a classic David versus Goliath story, right? Adobe is the undisputed giant in the room with a whopping 70% of the market. In Canva, it looks like a tiny little player with just 4%. But that number is so misleading. See, by using a freemium model that makes it ridiculously easy to get started, Canva has built this colossal user base, and they're just chipping away at the market from the bottom up. It's the classic disruption playbook, and it's happening right before our eyes. And all of this incredible growth, and this market disruption has led to some really intense chatter about the company's next big move, a multi-billion-dollar IPO.
Yeah, IPO is one of those terms that gets thrown around constantly. So let's just break it down for a second. What exactly is an initial public offering, and why is the buzz around Canva's potential one just so loud?
Seriously, just think of an IPO like a company's graduation day. It's the moment it goes from being privately owned by a small group of people to being publicly traded on a huge stock exchange, like the NYSE or the NASDAQ. This move unlocks massive amounts of cash for growth, and it lets all those early investors finally cash in on their bet. And for Canva, the numbers we're talking about are just staggering.
Let's just start with the headline number. As of early 2024, a private sale of company shares put its valuation at a massive $37.8 billion. That's the price tag the market is slapping on this thing before it even hits the public market. But that valuation, it's built on a very real and very powerful financial engine. And that engine is powered by this, $2.5 billion in annualized recurring revenue. Now, for a software company, that is the absolute gold standard. We're not talking about one-time sales. This is predictable, stable income from subscriptions that Wall Street absolutely loves to see. And it's all driven by one key group.
It's all driven by this right here. 21 million paying subscribers. Remember that massive user base of 220 million people? Well, a really healthy slice of them have made the jump from the free version to a paid plan. This is the freemium model working to absolute perfection, and it forms the profitable bedrock that the entire company is built on. But beyond all the flashy numbers, maybe the single biggest sign of Canva's IPO plans came in late 2024. They hired Kelly Steckelberg. If that name sounds familiar, it's because she was the CFO of Zoom, and she's the one who famously guided that company through its own massive IPO back in 2019. In the tech world, that's not just hiring a new executive, that is a massive statement of intent.
Okay, so let's put on our investor hats for a second. If you were thinking about this as a potential investment, how should you even look at it? Let's break down the good and the bad, the bull case versus the bear case for Canva going public.
On one hand, the case for Canva's really strong. You've got that huge user base, that rare history of being profitable, and strong leaders who are betting big on AI. But, and this is a big but, the risks are just as real. The competition from Adobe and an increasingly aggressive Figma is fierce. Plus, they have to be careful not to tick off their core users with price hikes. I mean, some of their team plans jumped by a staggering 316%. And all of that is on top of managing cybersecurity risks like that data breach they had back in 2019.
And one of the biggest risks for any investor is this right here, valuation volatility. Just look at this ride. Canva peaked at a crazy $40 billion valuation during the 2021 tech boom, only to see it crash down to $26 billion during the market correction in 2022 before bouncing back. It's just a stark reminder that once this company is public, its value is going to be tied to the wild, unpredictable swings of the market. It could be a very bumpy ride.
Okay, so what should we all be looking for next? And for the everyday user, or maybe even a small-time investor, what does any of this mean for you?
Well, if an IPO does happen, it might not just be for the big Wall Street firms. You should keep an eye out for something called a directed share program. Some companies use these to offer shares directly to their most loyal customers. So if you're interested, your first step would probably be to sign up for some IPO alerts on retail brokerage apps and just keep an eye out for any official news from Canva itself.
And even though Canva is an Australian company through and through, don't expect it to list on the stock exchange there. Co-founder Cliff Obrecht basically spelled it out, pointing to the higher multiples and more sophisticated investors in the US. This isn't about them abandoning their home, it's a strategic move to go play in the biggest financial league in the world.
Look, in the end, Canva has already changed the game for millions and millions of people. The billion-dollar question now is pretty simple. Will going public be the thing that cements its legacy as a true tech titan? Or is the intense pressure of the public markets and those giant competitors just going to be too much to handle? That is the story we'll all be watching. Thanks for joining.